All right, let's pull back the curtain on something you use every single day, probably without a second thought. Email. We're going to dive into SMTP, the quiet, hardworking hero of your inbox that makes sure your messages actually get where they're supposed to go. Let's find out what's really going on behind the scenes. So you type out a message, you click that send button, and poof, seconds later, it's in someone else's inbox. It feels like magic, doesn't it? But what's really powering that is a system that's been around for over 40 years, and it has absolutely shaped our digital world. The real question is, how does it actually work? And more importantly, is it as safe as we all assume it is? Okay, first things first, let's set the scene. Before SMTP, the internet was kind of like a bunch of separate islands. Sending a message from one network to another, it was a massive headache. We desperately needed some kind of universal mail carrier, a common language that all these different systems could use to talk to each other. And that is exactly what SMTP became, the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It's the reason your Gmail account can send a message to a friend on Yahoo, or a colleague on Outlook, or even some private company server. And it just works. You can think of it as a push protocol. Its entire job is to push your email from server to server, like a digital relay race, until it lands in the right inbox. And what's so brilliant about it is that it solved these huge fundamental problems right from the get-go. It created reliable routing, so if a server was down, it would just try again later. No more lost mail. It guaranteed interoperability, connecting all those different email islands into one big continent, and it was built to scale, so it could handle you sending one email to your mom or a company sending millions of newsletters. Honestly, it was a game-changing solution. But, and this is a huge but, here comes the twist. SMTP was designed back in the early 1980s. The internet then was a totally different place. It was way smaller, mostly used by academics and researchers, and it was pretty much built on an honor system. Everybody trusted everybody. And that single assumption, that basic trust, is the source of its single biggest flaw today. I absolutely love this analogy because it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the problem. The protocol itself, the mail carrier, is just doing its job, but the world it's working in has become infinitely more hostile and dangerous. It was simply never designed to deal with the kind of cyber threats we see every single day. And this right here shows you exactly why. Sending an email with the original, plain vanilla SMTP is literally like sending a postcard through the mail. Anybody who handles it along the way can just flip it over and read the whole thing. The content, who it's from, who it's to, everything is out in the open. Even worse, the sender's address can be easily faked. This is the root of almost all phishing and spam. Oh, and if you used a password to log in and send, yeah, that was sent in plain text too, just waiting for someone to snatch it. So you can imagine, for decades now, the entire tech industry has been playing catch-up. We couldn't just get rid of SMTP. It's too deeply woven into the very fabric of the internet. So instead, we started bolting on new security features, piece by piece, trying to turn that vulnerable postcard into a securely sealed armored envelope. Now, these fixes basically fall into two main categories. First up is encryption. There's a command called starttls, which essentially lets the mail server say, hey, before we talk, let's make this conversation private. And just like that, the postcard gets slipped into an envelope while it's in transit. The second category is authentication. Things like SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, they're basically digital signatures and postmarks that let the receiving server check and say, yep, this email actually came from who it says it came from. No more forgeries. But here's the crucial point. For a very long time, these security layers were totally optional. It was what we call opportunistic. A mail server would try to use encryption, but if the server on the other end didn't support it, it would just shrug and send the email as a plain text postcard anyway. This approach left massive, gaping security holes all over the place. And this chart just shows the problem so perfectly. Look at the bar on the left. About 95% of emails flying between the big providers get that basic, opportunistic encryption, which sounds great, right? But now look at the bar on the right. The number of domains that actually enforce encryption, the ones that say, nope, I will not accept an unencrypted postcard, period, is closer to just 10%. And that huge gap, well, that's where the danger is. And that brings us right up to today, because the internet's biggest players, we're talking Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, they finally decided that this security gap is just not acceptable anymore. So they're forcing a mandatory security upgrade for the entire email world.
And this isn't some far-off theoretical thing. Look at this timeline. It's happening right now. As of 2025, Google and Yahoo are requiring anyone who sends bulk email to have full sender authentication. If you can't prove you are who you say you are, your emails just don't get delivered. Simple as that. And by 2026, Microsoft is turning off old, insecure password methods for good, pushing everyone to modern, much safer authentication.
So, what does this all mean for you, for me, for businesses, for literally everyone who uses email? Well, the takeaway is simple. The days of treating email security as a nice-to-have feature are officially over. It is now a non-negotiable requirement. Okay, so with these new rules of the road in place, how do you actually make sure your email is compliant and, secure? Let's walk through the best practices you need to know for this new era of email. Here is your checklist. Number 1, you have to implement full sender authentication. Get your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records in order to prove you are who you say you are. Number 2, for real security, you need to enforce encryption, not just hope for it. And number 3, if you have any old apps or devices still using a simple username and password to send mail, it's time. You have to migrate them to modern, secure standards like OAuth 2.0. And for anyone handling truly sensitive information, I'm talking financial data, health records, that kind of thing, you can and should go even deeper. This means making sure you're using the right secure ports for sending mail, and even using true end-to-end encryption. And of course, you should be constantly monitoring everything and working with trusted partners, especially when you're sending email at a large scale. So, SMTP, one of the internet's oldest and most fundamental protocols, is finally getting the armor it needs to survive in the modern world. And it leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. Email has now shown us that it's possible to upgrade a legacy system that billions of us rely on every day. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other parts of our core internet infrastructure are just waiting for their turn?